The with you is the handheld that you have the best. Wait, the best handheld is the one that you have with you. Or something. There have been cell phone controllers for ages. They come in many flavors. Recently, cell phone gaming has become more and more viable. On iPhone, you finally have emulation apps like Delta and pretty beefy AAA games from companies like Ubisoft and Capcom. It's the whole game right there, ready to play. Android has always been pretty decent for gaming. It's always had emulation apps, but now you can even play Steam games depending on how powerful your hardware is. Many years ago, Josh King uploaded a video showcasing a cool concept for a cell phone controller with a sliding mechanism. We now know this as the MCON. This video went pretty viral. He has since deleted that original video, but I know that it went viral because people have not stopped asking me about it since then, goddammit. Then Josh partnered with a guy who I guess specializes in doing Kickstarter campaigns, and then there goes all of the charm of this being a dorm room project. Now it's been corporatized. But this video isn't only about the MCON though, because since that Kickstarter and the success of it, or maybe it's because we now have a lot of emulation apps on iOS, since all of that, there have been a lot more mobile phone controllers releasing. Gamesir has the Pocket Taco, a Game Boy-like attachment that kind of clamps onto the bottom of your phone. It seems to be specifically focused on playing the Delta emulator on iPhone, and it's kind of a really cool idea. This was only just announced like about a month ago. We also have the ABXYLUTE M4, another small controller, very similar in size to the Pocket Taco, but this one has all of the buttons and thumbsticks of a normal modern game controller, and it's MagSafe, kind of like the MCON. I just got all three of these controllers, and not all of them are gonna make it into my bag. Only one of them is gonna get that honor. There have been plenty of great phone controllers in the past, but one issue that has always been plaguing these controllers is the bulkiness or the convenience factor. You always have your phone on you. Do you really want to take another thing with you all of the time? And if you do, if these controllers are getting so big, at some point, it's probably just more worth it to bring a whole ass game console. So, are any of these more worth it than just bringing a small-ish emulation handheld? Or are any of these small enough for you to notice in your pocket? Will any of them make it into my daily pocket junk pile? This video is sponsored by Incogni. Okay, so we got the balloons, we got the cake. German chocolate? Yes, German chocolate. Oh, that reminds me. I was finishing up the slideshow, and there's some pictures of you on the internet that are pretty crazy. What do you mean?
You know, I wouldn't think about it too hard. I mean, like, you know, just be careful what you put out there, you know?
Oh, okay. So, should I get a vanilla cake too? Not everyone likes chocolate. You know, I don't want to say anything, but yes, definitely get a vanilla cake. I'll do that. Oh no. Oh God. I gotta get rid of these. Incogni helps protect your privacy and take your personal data off the internet. They'll reach out to scummy data brokers on your behalf and get your personal data removed so it won't be used and sold to these shady companies anymore. It takes just 3 steps. Create an account, grant Incogni the rights to act on your behalf, and just let them get to work. Watch as they scrub tons of data brokers for your info and rip it all down. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use the link below and use code WolfDen to get 60% off of an annual plan. That's incogni.com/wolfden and use code WolfDen to take your data back. Hey, is Susan allergic to peanuts? I was never on Yoshi's Island. What? The pictures you were talking about.
What? No, I was talking about this right here. You in the cat maid outfit. Shave your legs next time you do something like that, man. Jesus.
Oh. So? What's wrong with that?
I don't know. It's just. No, it's fine. It's fine.
No. It's just what? It's just what? Tell me.
The jet. It's your journey.
Yeah, it's my journey.
Look, I'm sorry. I'm new to the city. Are we cool? Are we still cool?
I'm going to go over each one of these controllers one at a time, and then I will kind of pit them all against each other. 2 of these controllers are prototypes. One of these controllers is an actual retail unit that I purchased with my own money. That is the MCON. I waited way too long for this thing. I kickstarted this last January, right when the Kickstarter launched. I was backer number 2600-ish. And then right after the Kickstarter launched, they put it on Indiegogo and also on their own website up for pre-order. I do not know when they posted it on Indiegogo, but the earliest comments that I see on their Indiegogo are from September, when this thing was scheduled to launch in August. I've been wondering where mine has been, and apparently, so has everybody else. The comments on both the Kickstarter and the Indiegogo have not been too kind to them. People are accusing OSnap, the company in charge here, of shipping to people who pre-ordered via their website first, even though their Kickstarter was the very first venue for pre-ordering. They also fulfilled domestic orders first, regardless of when or where you pre-ordered. So that's a little annoying. Not to mention, they just announced smaller, sleeker versions of this at CES, weeks before I got my hands on the one that I pre-ordered a year ago. They're already making new versions. I got this for $100. You can now get your hands on your MCON for $150. That is kind of a lot of money to be spending on a phone controller. So the expectations are pretty high. If nothing else, it does have an extremely satisfying slide-out mechanism. I think that's what the whole gimmick is centered around. It is also MagSafe, and the MagSafe magnet is sufficiently strong. My phone with the case requires a substantial amount of yanking to get it to come off. I've heard reports of this slide-out mechanism yeeting phones, but that's obviously not the case here. I was just pointing that towards me. That was very dangerous. If it slid off, it would have decked me. My biggest gripe is just how thick it is. Look at that thing. It is significantly thicker than my phone. This is like having a whole other phone in my pocket. So I'm really not sure how much I'm going to want to lug this thing around. I guess it really depends on what games you're currently playing on your phone. It also has these folding grips that I always forget to unfold. Ergonomics are not this thing's strong suit, which is a bit of a theme here with these phone controllers. This is convenience over ergonomics with as little compromise as possible, within reason. With the phone on, it's pretty heavy. The grips help mitigate that a little, but it's still top heavy. This entire MagSafe top piece can slide off, and now you have a kickstand and a normal Bluetooth controller. That's not a bad way to play. It's a bit more comfortable. The controller itself on its own, it's all right. The D-pad is nice and clicky. The thumbsticks are recessed in a way that I don't love, but at least they are extremely accurate. The face buttons are also clicky. The shoulder buttons are pretty horrendous. The triggers are analog, but they're so thin, and the bumpers are pretty much impossible to press on your first attempt, especially with a controller this tightly packed. I really want to press the bumpers with the meat of my fingers like this. This does not really allow for that. It's way too easy to accidentally press the trigger. Overall, not very comfortable. I don't think I would ever opt to play games like this if I could avoid it. If I could play a game on a handheld, I'd much rather do that. And for $150, we're really starting to get into handheld territory. I did play a bit of Warframe like this, and you know what? It was fine. Again, the shoulder buttons are weird, but if there's a game you want to play specifically on your iPhone and you don't want to carry around a big, bulky controller with a grip or something, I can see the value here, but it doesn't magically make your iPhone into a good game console. And I'm not sure how much I'm going to want to add this to my daily pocket junk. I'll move on to the Gamesir Pocket Taco. This is a prototype, and you can pre-order it now for $35 on their website, and it doesn't come out till March 15th. So some things may change. $35 is a bit of a stark contrast to what we just saw. It also doesn't have thumbsticks, so that might be a deal breaker for some. So far, I kind of really like this one. I'm a sucker for the Game Boy style D-pad. This has a very obvious Game Boy inspired design. It's sort of like a binder clip. It's spring-loaded and always wants to close. So you pry it open and taco your phone into the middle. It's a pretty interesting design. I've never seen or even considered anything like this before. When you open it, it automatically turns on and connects via Bluetooth. When you close it, it turns off after about maybe 8 seconds. I would really like to see that time extended a little bit. Sometimes you want to take it off for a second to maybe change some settings or maybe answer a quick text or something, and then it just turns off on you. So having that extended, look, it's already off. Having that extended maybe to like a minute or 2 minutes would be a little helpful. Oh yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that you're wondering about. Yes, the Pocket Taco does take up a significant portion of the screen. This is specifically for vertical gaming and seems to be focused almost entirely around emulating games via the Delta app on iPhone. I have a whole video on Delta from a while ago if you're interested in emulating games on your iPhone. It's a great app. I don't see anything wrong with creating a controller specifically for this one emulation app because this app is maybe the best emulation app on iPhone. And it's an emulation app, so there are virtually unlimited games that you could play in this one app. There is a setting in the Delta emulator that I had to change that allows the controller overlay to stay on while you have an external controller connected. That way, the gameplay window will raise to the top of your vertical screen. I have it set so when the screen is vertical, there's button overlays, and when the screen is horizontal, there's no button overlays. That way, when I'm using the Pocket Taco, the screen is in the right spot, and when I'm using the MCON, the screen is also in the right spot. This thing feels good. The buttons aren't particularly clicky. They kind of feel like Game Boy buttons. The shoulder buttons are tiny, but they're easy enough to press. Even though they're thin, they're inline, they're not stacked. And the weight distribution of the whole thing while holding it vertically like this is pretty solid. I actually really like the way this thing feels. Inside, there's rubber pads so the plastic doesn't mess up your phone. There's also a hole on the bottom so that you can charge your phone through the controller. This is a way to compensate for different charge ports. What if it was USB-C only? Then people who had a lightning port wouldn't be able to use the Pocket Taco. So they put a hole in it so you can charge your phone no matter what port you got going on in there. My gripe here is that that charge port is just a little too low. At least that's how it is with my case attached to the phone. I can still weasel a cable in there, but I wish there was a bit more room. Also, since it powers off when it closes, you can't use it detached from the iPhone unless you wedge something in there, which is a bit interesting to play like that. That's about when it could benefit from an on-off switch. Anyway, I don't want to be too nitpicky here because this is a prototype and things can change. It is also only $35. So again, I don't want to be too nitpicky about it. There is also an app that you can use that allows you to change things like controller configurations and whatnot. Hopefully that app will eventually allow us to change the power off time. Maybe I can extend it via the app. That'd be cool. I have not played with the app because it's a prototype. This is a pre-release. That app's probably not going to even be available. But even if it were, it's gonna probably change drastically in the next 2 months. Overall, I do really like this. Sure, it doesn't have thumbsticks, but I just won't be playing any thumbstick games with it. It's a lot more comfortable than some of the other options, and it is way, way thinner. This might actually be low profile enough to make it into my daily pocket junk, if I happen to be playing a game in Delta at the time, which isn't too unlikely to happen. Lastly, let's talk about the ABXYLUTE, or I like to call them the ABXYLUTE. This is the M4 controller by ABXYLUTE. That company is the company that sent me that 3D PC handheld from a bit ago. That was quite an interesting handheld. This is quite an interesting controller. This is another prototype that they sent me a bit ago, but this is available now. You can just purchase it, and it is $50. I hope the retail version doesn't do that. I'm supposed to put my phone on that, by the way. Oh my god. This one is a really strange design. There's this MagSafe ring that connects to your phone. Then you magnetically connect that to the M4 controller. That magnetic connection is not good. The phone is obviously heavier than the controller, so it's pretty easy to dislodge the magnetic connection. I would say this is a prototype issue. This is something they would definitely want to fix before they release it. But other people who have reviewed it have shared the same sentiment. So definitely only use this with a case that you're very confident in. Oh my god. Oh my god. And definitely don't hold it upside down either. Jesus.
Is my phone cracked? Oh my god, there's a crack in my phone. I think that happened when I dropped. Oh my god, that happened when I dropped it because of this.
my God.
Its compact size is good for portability. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with this magnetic ring. Why is it even magnetic? Am I supposed to fold it down for portability? Nope, that doesn't feel right. There's just one way you can put it. You can take it off and use the magnetic ring as a kind of kickstand. And then you can use the controller wirelessly, which is nice because holding it while it's attached to your phone feels pretty terrible. The weight distribution is extremely bad. The face buttons being so low is a travesty. And don't get me started on these thumbsticks. I do really like the idea of using 3DS circle pad style thumbsticks. It allows for the whole unit to be way slimmer. I wish the MCON did this from the jump. That could greatly benefit from being thinner. However, the thumbsticks on the M4 are not accurate at all. They love to snap to cardinal directions, and they also are not smooth to the touch. There's like kinks in it, like you're grinding plastic while you're moving them. Now, hopefully these thumbsticks, they're just like a prototype issue. Hopefully they can work out the kinks before they launched this thing. But some of the other issues, like the weight distribution and the overall ergonomics, they seem to be a design issue. I think the core concept of this thing is just flawed. I like the idea of having thumbsticks in this sort of tiny form factor, but in practice, it's just a little too jank. This will almost certainly not be making it into my daily pocket junk. So, of these three, the ABXYLUTE is obviously the worst one. Don't even consider that one. The MCON is fine if you absolutely need to have those thumbsticks. And I also wrote in the script here, if you only want to play games horizontally, and then I learned this whole thing comes off, and then you go like this, and now you can play games vertically. Hey, that's pretty cool. I think this thing is pretty great for 3D games and like Game Pass games and game streaming and stuff. My overall favorite of all of these might actually just be the Pocket Taco. It's not great for everything, but it's great for a very specific use case that I will more likely take advantage of. Maybe a future premium iteration could have like a telescoping clamp so that you can put a phone in horizontally so you can have some horizontal gameplay. The option of that would be cool. And maybe make this bigger, put some thumbsticks on it for like a premium. People would pay a premium for that. I'm giving you ideas here. But if I want that right now, I'm just going to use a different controller. If you want that, get something else. This is, I think, just the right amount of compromises for a game controller for me. The compromises allow it to be as compact as it is. If you don't emulate things via Delta, you probably think this thing's a waste. And that's fine. Don't get it then. Spend $150 on an MCON. That is nice, though. But at that point, at $150, just get a Retroid. It's also $150 for a Retroid Pocket 4. It runs on Android. You can emulate whatever you want, or you can just download Android apps and play that way. You have Game Pass on there, Warzone Mobile, whatever you want. If you're going to add something this big to your daily pocket junk anyway, why not just make it a dedicated console with its own dedicated battery so you don't waste the battery that's on your phone? Another little bugaboo I have with all of these controllers is that they are wireless. They work via Bluetooth, and they all have their own batteries in them that need to be charged. I think that's a little weird for something that is always going to be stationary. It's not like I'm moving around with it. Yeah, you could detach it and play that way, but I'm almost never going to be doing that. The batteries on all of these do last a really long time, but it's just not something I want to have to think about all the time. And I'm probably never going to charge them. I'm probably going to go to play it one day, it's not going to work, and I'm going to go, oh well, and then I just can't play. There are other controllers out there, like the Razer Kishi line of controllers that just connect via USB-C. Now that's a controller that I don't have to think about. It just connects and it just works. But that controller, that's a lot of bulk. That is certainly not making it into my daily pocket junk. 8BitDo has one coming out that looks a lot like the Pocket Taco, but this one connects via USB-C, and it folds out, and it doesn't go all the way out, though. They want it to fold out like an old phone. They want you to be able to talk like this. Who talks anymore on the phone? Just text me. I'm not answering. I would like to see that flip all the way to the back so that I can use the phone with the thing always attached just out of the way. This is releasing in the summer, and we don't know the price yet. Honestly, I think that is great. I think that's going to be good too, and the more options, the better. So I guess the way that we have to think about this is what games you're trying to play. And now think about all these controllers. You already know which one is the best for me. Now, which one's the best for you? It's not the absolute one. That one's off the table. So you guys think about all of these mobile game controllers. Which one do you think would be good for you? Or what game? What I want to know is what game are you playing on your phone that's going to make you want to put one of these in your bag? Because I'm not putting this in my pocket. I'm going to put this in my backpack. And if I'm bringing a backpack, then I'm bringing something else. I'm bringing a Steam Deck or a Switch or a Retroid or an Odin or something. I understand the perspective that a phone that can do high-powered gaming is expensive and people don't have the money to buy a whole other device. But this is $150 motherfucking dollars. Anyway, leave it in the comments below. Add me on Twitter and all this other social media garbage. Hey, you see some names scrolling across the screen. Those are our patron supporters for the podcast Patreon. I'm on the podcast set right now because I didn't feel like setting up a whole thing, and I ended up setting up a whole thing anyway. I changed all the lights around. Thank you, Incogni, for sponsoring this video. If you skipped that ad, you missed out. Thank you very much for being here. The most important thing you can do is subscribe to this channel. Make sure it's subscribed to down there. And share this video with a friend who loves to play a game on their phone. Maybe they're a Genshin guy or a Zenless Zone Zero boy. Thank you very much. Have a good week.